we have discussed and what's available today is not the end of the story. But in all this, what we're trying to do is look at costs, increase the speed of all this, the post-production process, and somehow give enhanced product with the least amount of cost and having the least amount of cost overruns. Because that, in this industry, at least according to the popular press that we read, cost overruns seem to be a significant issue. So the virtual reality and AI, the possibilities of that, being able to drive AI and VR together to come up with these, a different style of storytelling that probably is uniquely possible now, and at the same time, where perhaps even the viewer is a participant in this, driving the storyline through as it proceeds, based on your interests, having, say, alternate endings, unique alternate endings for everyone who watches this. And we're already seeing, the effects of the new Apple VR set. It has been in the news, people driving with the Apple VR set being pulled over. The set has not even been available for less than a week, so people are already driving with this thing. So if you can imagine, with the combination of AI and the set and being in a self-driving car, so the ability to immerse users, and again, the previous panel had said about the educational aspects of it. It's not just pure entertainment, but what does it mean to a student? But also, there's a whole host of things that come out of this. That is, are these environments, do they promote retention of the material in the students? So these are open questions. This is when I was in school, in graduate school, so many years ago. So there was a test that had been done at that time, looking at the amount of information that is retained by a person reading it on paper versus seeing it on the screen. Well, in those days, the paper won out, but today it's probably the screen that has got the new generation would prefer the screen, and who knows, the next generation might prefer these virtual environments for really the educational purposes. Another part of it is content personalization, and we have seen this. This is not it's not anything new. We see it on Netflix, Amazon, and all these other places. But the use of AI, I think, is going to perhaps drive this to yet another level. And what those levels are, it's only time that would tell us what these things mean. I was at earlier or late last year, I was at a design automation conference in LA, and of course there were a lot of representation from the movie industry, but it was amazing to see the amount that people had already started incorporating tools into their daily work. So this is while and people are talking about it while the writer's strike was going on, right? So it was a little, there was a little disassociation there, but as I think Professor Joseph mentioned, the cat's out of the bag, and you either live with the cat or you go away, right? Again, some of these things, these concepts of audience segmentation, predictive analytics, all these things, ever since this machine learning, and even before machine learning, when you had statistical analysis, people were already doing these kinds of things. But I think a big difference right now with the generative component is that you have now the ability within all this to bring natural language very much more easily into this natural language and the way that humans interact much more easily into this, whereas previously everything used to be primarily driven by numbers. Now, I think we're going beyond a stage where you can take, say, texts, reports, condense them through these generative AI techniques and bring them into your calculations, which is a step beyond just dealing with numbers. And of course, this is something that we see with deepfakes, and deepfakes, of course, the negative connotation, but even in terms of the movie and the entertainment industry, there was a big the controversy about, I believe, George Carlin, whose widow has objected to him being resurrected as a deepfake, and I guess doing stand-up. But on the positive side, recreating history, where we can interact with historical actors. Harrison Ford being de-aged in his latest movie. So all these things, again, what the next steps of these are. Of course, these are all going to be much more prevalent. So do actors have a life beyond, their mortal life, which is very easily possible today, I guess. And of course, in post-production, the kinds of things that you could do, automating, speeding up the whole process. Okay. So I just wanted to put a plug, since, like I said, we all at CAU, in what we do here in our department, and I've just put up the kinds of things that we do with respect to sponsored research, primarily with AI, but more from a scientific aspect of it. So the one that's most akin to what we are discussing today is probably the first one, where we're looking at videos of job interviews and technical job interviews. Through one of our partners, we are able to get a fairly significant number of them. And looking at the emotions that both the interviewer and the interviewee display during the interviewing process, recognizing what these emotions are, and trying to provide some context between the emotions that you hear in audio with what they're saying. So it's something that we have been working on. So part of it uses generative AI, and the rest of it is using just neural networks or deep learning kind of networks. A second one that a project that we are looking at actively is looking at satellite, or interpreting satellite pictures before and after disasters. So it's made interesting because none of the agencies who actually possess these pictures would give it to us, and so we have to look at commercial satellites and what they publish, and which is always, the data is not always in the best form possible. So there's a lot of data cleaning and data pre-processing that is needed. We're also looking at using digital twins for automating industrial process, again, AI related. The last two things that we are looking at is with respect to the intersection of cybersecurity and AI. One is, how do you prevent bad actors from gaming your AI systems? That is, if they can hack into your into your systems and influence the training of your systems, or even providing images or video that can fool your system. That is, people have seen that, especially in images, a change of few pixels can actually affect the outcome of your AI. And so, how is it that you can prevent these kinds of attacks? And the last thing is, how do we protect critical infrastructure? And again, this needs, we need these AI systems to do this, because our traditional ways of just doing cybersecurity is not feasible anymore with the level of attacks and the types and variety of attacks that we see today. So, I think in the previous panel there was a question about the challenges of AI. First of all, job displacement, concerns about AI replacing creative humans. But I think there's a greater challenge would be, in this context, creativity is still, I think there's a little bridge, but I think people who are involved in rote work, which can be written down in the form of an algorithm, anyone who works in that kind of a job, I think we have to be really concerned about what the future of those kinds of jobs might be. The intellectual property who owns AI-generated content, there was an active discussion about that, and I won't get into that any further. And the use of how do we regulate this AI use? And again, I think there was someone mentioned that in Europe, people have actually really started looking at how do we introduce legislation. We see a lot of talk in Congress about legislation regulating AI use. But my position on that is, with legislation, you legislate, or you put boundaries around good actors. For the bad actors, none of these things matter. Okay, so to conclude. So where do I see the biggest uses? We are looking at production efficiency when we're looking at, say, motion pictures and the entertainment industry, but it is production efficiency across, practically every field that we know. One of the projects that we do is looking at digital twins for industrial automation. You have almost exactly the same kind of issues there. How we can use AI to automate significant parts of the production environment. So, of course, this has been going on for a long time. We saw, in the 70s, I guess, and the 80s, we saw blue-collar workers being replaced by machines. And now, of course, it's come to a point where engineers will probably be replaced by machines. Interactive experiences for viewers. We are still at the cusp of this. I think with AI and with these new interactive devices, we're going to see a lot more uses, a lot more good things, and also a lot of bad things emerging out of it. And which, of course, brings us to the last, what are these ethical considerations, and what is responsible AI use, and how do we legislate it? How do we make people behave in these responsible ways? Because the tools are out there, and the tools are free. most tools are free. And so it's the imagination, good or bad, that is what constrains their use. And I guess that's all I had. Once again, this was an excellent conference, and I got to know about SMT. David is not here, right? SMPTE in the past 1 year. And my most memorable most memorable moment during this interaction is when I asked David about SMPTE and its role in the Betamax versus VH1 controversy. I had him stumped, I guess. Okay.
I have a question.
Sure. Oh, there you are, David.
Dr. George,
yes.
Great presentation. What excites you most about AI, and what scares you the most? And where do you see AI being 20 years from now?
Yeah, for me, the excitement is in terms of, I see in terms of automation. And automation involving things that we previously it was really, really difficult. So just going back, maybe going back to one of the problems that we had, that's if you're looking at interviews and you want to do an analysis of the interviews. So till the coming of generative AI, you had natural language programs that were buggy. You could do, you could get some idea of what was going on, but it was extremely difficult. So you had, whenever you have natural language, there is this question of, are you going to have a shallow interpretation or a deep interpretation? So a shallow interpretation is where we are just looking at keywords. A deep interpretation is where you're trying to figure out what the person is saying. But lo and behold, we have these tools now that they might be buggy, but still, it's much better than any of the software that people had produced previously. And so what this allows you to do is look at, say, text documents, extract things from them that, previously someone had to really sit through all this, figure out what was important, and then you had to have someone to code this out. But all these things are, available to me, sitting here in Atlanta. It's available to someone who's sitting in, I would say, Mongolia. Anyone can do this. So that is the real, I think that's a real promise. That is, we can extract, if we really want to do it correctly, we can extract this good information, distill the good information. So when you have, say, unforeseen situations of certain kind, I'm sure there's information hidden, or information somewhere, someone has written a report about it. And being able to quickly be able to get that and give this back to, and conduct our, do a decision based on it. Okay, so that I would say is a promise where we are able to extract all these different kinds of media, not just numbers. The scary part, I think, is for me is the loss of jobs. That's what I see, and and this is what I say is probably a truism. That is, in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, when blue collar employees lost their jobs. Us people, university-educated people, we didn't, it's just a blue collar person. But today, those jobs are coming for us, professionals, lawyers, maybe even in some medical fields. These programs are doing much better than doctors themselves. So, the hollowing out of the professions, I see, which, again, it might be selfish because it's affecting people like us who have been to university and who went through a mode of training. But we might be, in the same position as our blue-collar brethren, 5-10 years from now. And only people with capital controlling the whole show.
Hi. You actually just sort of addressed some of my question, and you addressed some of this in a slide where you were discussing job displacement, especially for creatives, and you specifically called out sound design as an automation principle or an automation example. But given what you just said, where maybe 5 to 10 years from now, creatives like myself or mostly people in the room could be in a situation where they might be out of a job, it's difficult to wrap your head around championing something like that when it could lead to the negation of our careers. Right. So all the time that we've spent studying, learning, perfecting our craft, and especially, creativity, which is primarily what I define as a human characteristic, it's difficult to champion something and to dive into something in the forefront and get on the ground level of something that we may be looking at saying, oh, well, 5-10 years from now, you could be in the situation of a blue-collar worker from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So how do we justifiably think about championing something like that?
So I'm not championing this because I see my fundamental, my most basic, most basic strength, or what I've been trained for, is to program. And I think programmers are also they're also on that hit list, because you see, already you're seeing with the big tech companies today, why is it that they're having this many layoffs? Because you can do a lot more with a lot less people. So I'm not a champion of this either. But the question is, is there, as an individual, that anything that I can do about it? So when you have people with these, okay, so in my mind, it's more of an economic situation. When you have people with this large amounts of capital who are able to set the agenda, as an individual, what exactly can I do about it? And let me say, one of the frontiers that people are saying, and it's not too far off, where you are going to have a multi-billion-dollar factory run by 1 or 2 people. So we are already there. So, but who wants? It's the people with capital who can do these things. So. Yeah, so I guess I'm more fatalistic than about these kinds of things. When you talk to economists, or when you read about what economists say, they keep saying, oh, there'll be new kinds of jobs that come, new industry. So I guess that's what we can hope for. New kinds of jobs, new industry, maybe which can reuse or repurpose the kinds of knowledge that we already have in a much more productive and, I guess, sophisticated way. So I'm by no means a champion, but okay. Thanks very much.
Next, we'll have Mr. Brian Jenkins, the State General Manager for CAU TV, talking about production and post-production, the current state.
Yeah, this is about to be hilarious. I have no idea. Good afternoon. Yeah, I thought of that at 4 o'clock this morning on the slide I had. This is an interesting time for me, so let me start by just starting with talking about why I'm here, why I'm at Clark Atlanta University. Some of the people who have made an opportunity for me to be here, some of the ancestors that have brought me to this point and supported me in this business that I work in. So I was having a conversation with some of the proteges. You see some of them around the room. And I was reminded of a few things and people whose shoulders I stand on. So first person is Bruce Clark. He was the production manager at Clark Atlanta University when I was a student here from 84 to 89. One of his sayings was, mistakes happen, just be cool, those together, and let's go. His cohort, Anita Barr, was the general manager of the television station at the same time. They were both Clark College graduates, by the way. She worked at ABC also here in Atlanta before she returned to Clark Atlanta, or Clark College at the time. And Anita was extremely cool. She was like, if you're going to do it right. We get one shot to tell the story. Another huge person, Joan Marie Lewis. She was a dramaturge here at Clark Atlanta University in the theater department. And she is actually one of the creators of some of the Black theater that occurs in Atlanta, or has occurred in Atlanta. And her saying was, precision matters. Another mentor out of New York that I met probably mid-career, he's passed on also, is Al Jones. And his saying to me was along the lines of, access is critical. But once you get access, what are you going to do with it? When I'm from DC, when I arrived in Atlanta, freshman in Morehouse College, where I did graduate. My mentor as a freshman was Andre Bertrand. I was put under him as work study, Jada. And I was a mechanical engineer at the time. I came here as a mechanical engineer, didn't work out, wound up over at Clark Atlanta TV. But Andre allowed me to exploit my hobby or interest in photography to expand my vision into light and capturing movement. So that was a big thing for me as a freshman at Morehouse, trying to do this mechanical engineering thing, but photography was my interest. And it wound up giving me insight to get over to Clark Atlanta University, Clark College at the time. I'm going to go back and forth. Clark College was Clark College until 1988, it becomes Clark Atlanta University. I know it as Clark College, so sometimes that's what I refer to it as. But anyway, it was the photography that got me over to Clark College then, and studied under a gentleman by the name of Jim Alexander, who reiterated that you can do whatever you put your mind to, but you must be prepared to stand on it and don't embarrass it. I had an opportunity with Jim Alexander to spend an evening with Gordon Parks at the time. Took several pictures that he gave some critique on, but it was interesting because Gordon Parks said in our discussion, be intentional and be creative. Anything is possible. Then around 1993, so now 3 years in to working over here at Clark. And there was an opportunity within Lincoln Mercury, or Forward now, to sponsor a program, a film program in the MMA department, which became a film festival. And they funded some of the equipment that the students used to capture their projects. This program placed a new spotlight on CAU and its media department and what we now call content creators. A few years later in that time, so we talk about maybe 94, 95, 96, one of our proteges earned an opportunity to intern with then the Atlanta Olympic Broadcasters Group, which was the broadcast side of the Atlanta Olympic Committee. When the Olympics, before the Olympics get here, but we're in the process of converting the town. getting our broadcasters together and figuring out how we're going to pull this thing together. As a result of him impressing him so much, we created what was then called the Host Broadcast Training Program on this campus, where we trained about 2,700 students between Clark Atlanta University, other HBCUs in this city, and about 5 or 10 other HBCUs across the country that participated to work, of which of the 2,700, about 2,200 of them were gainfully employed for the Atlanta Olympic Games in various positions, all in the broadcast diaspora. Why is that important? Because some of those, the Atlanta Olympic stuff offered an opportunity for me then to be summoned to come work with the Olympic Committee, and I've now done 6 Olympics on 4 continents. Wow. It's been a while, but I was a part of the Olympic movement, and that has shaped my approach to learning new technologies. It's interesting, when I got to interact with some of my Olympic buddies, we were doing things that we do now. It was like ahead of our time. It was always cutting edge things that we were doing. The area that I worked in with the Olympics was where we call it the CDT. It's the area where all of the signals come back to the broadcast center. And after they leave us at the CDT, they will go out to rights holding broadcasters. So in the United States, the rights holding broadcaster is NBC, but there's 300 of them around the world. So we offer that image for them and then hand it back to them. But I got to see some technologies where we took color bars and did things to them that in the United States works in one standard, but in other countries it may not be the same standard, but we came up with a standard that worked across the whole spectrum, which is really weird. But the funny thing is, it was the one of the first times that I really interrogated color bars, waveform, and vector, and became interested in what else is possible. So I'm going back and forth because that's kind of how I think. So we're now 96, 2000, 2002, but back when I was in school, we're talking 84, 85, 86, 87, we still have 2 cameras. And one of the presenters spoke about the shift that would occur between the time that you made a white balance and set your camera up at the beginning of your shoot, and 30 minutes later, an hour later, red is not red anymore, yellow is not yellow anymore, it's not red color. Green is not green anymore, blue is not blue anymore. Things have shifted. It does not, the floor, the pine floor on the football, on the basketball court, well, we'll get back to that, we're not doing sports, but it's not pine color anymore, it's actually green now. And I would always ask the engineer why. His name is Dan, another one of my mentors. And you could look at the scope. He's like, look here on the scope, you can see this, and look at that, it's supposed to be here. I was like, yeah, that's not the way it looked. Or sometimes you look at the monitor, why does the monitor look like this, Dan? Yeah, because the monitor shifted, CRT. And I'm like, yeah, but it didn't look like that when we started. Yeah, but it does now. And so it was Dan that showed me how the simply bars, not these, but the full fill bars or the flip bars back in the day, was your measurement tool that does not change. It's your reference tool that does not change. So no matter what you put it through, it better look like that. If it doesn't look like this, once you know what that looks like, represented on the vector or scope or waveform or any variation of scope, if it doesn't look like that, there's a problem. So I just kept digging at him about how to read these bars. And I did it so much that he made an opportunity for me to go over to Georgia Tech and do some shading for them. Interesting thing there is, I'm employed at Clark Atlanta, but at night sometimes I was going over to Georgia Tech and do their sports. I was doing basketball, I was doing football, I was doing baseball, and I started shading 2 cameras, 3 cameras, 4 cameras on their truck or in their venue. And it was all because of these bars. So somewhere in there I joined Symposium, which is interesting, way back then. And these bars always, I use the term haunted me because we always wanted them to be perfect. I knew how they were supposed to look, and whenever I went to a monitor and they didn't look that way, it was a problem. So now I'm gonna jump forward. So the interesting thing now is, though we have this technology that gives us the reference for things to be correct, the standard is set. And the generation of students that I'm working with, they don't see bars. They don't see that standard. They're not tested to use bars as their reference for everything. I know in the analog world, you almost had to if you wanted to see it represented the way it was recorded. The standard was if you go out to record something, first thing you do, bars and tone. For some term on your recording, you had to have bars and tone. Why? Because when you go back to play that back later, what was the reference? Or how can I create unity so that when I play this media back tape, then I will see everything as it was interpreted or the way it was recorded. And now in their world, we have so much auto this and auto that. It's so interesting that we skipped this process, and it was just, like I said, it haunted me because I don't know how many times I came back as a student without my bars and tone and then could not edit my video to look the way it was intended when I started. And with them, they really don't have to do that. And Jada here was saying to me yesterday when Brother had, I think it was Brad was on, he was talking about the histogram and the waveform and vector. And she was like, why don't we go over that more? I said, we will, Jada, but it takes exposure sometimes to see why it's important, but it takes practice to know what you're looking at. Which brings me to the difference between book knowledge and practical knowledge. So CAU TV here on this campus, we're barraged with a lot of requests across campus to cover things. And sometimes it's easier than others for us to get it done. This particular event reminds me of a few that we've had where we've had to really adapt to present a quality product. And it's stretching the students to help us make that happen. It's stretching them because they're seeing things that they don't normally see. Like the question yesterday, why are these bars important? Why do we have to use these bars to do things? Well, if you don't see it in practice, you don't know. But in the background, my operations manager and my station editor are always see us use bars to set up monitors, but the students don't always see that particular part because it goes real fast because we would know what we're doing. But it's forcing me to probably go back a little more and show them how to interpret this signal, all three signals. They see the waveform, they've seen the vector scope. They shade cameras a little bit, only so much as make sure irises are set, they're not clipping levels and things. But I've even taken some of them on some of my trips, or some of my local work where I'm doing multi-camera shoots so they can see on the truck what I'm looking at and how to interpret that video signal. Now, I go back and forth again. They're using cell phones now that do things automatically. We heard that earlier today. They don't have to really interpret the signal. They just grab it and go. They're editing in software that is not requiring, it's there if they know what they're looking for to go in and pull out and interpret things. But in their operation, they don't have to really dig into the signal and what it's doing and make it look like this on the output side. They just want to make sure they shoot it this way so that when they put it on Instagram, it pops. Whereas I'm like, no, how do we shoot it this way and do both things? And they have technology that does that too. But I'm trying to help them be able to come out of their practices more, dig deeper into that. And that we have Sony FS7s as well, but dig deeper into what is capable of that. So when they go back to the phone, they make the phone do the best thing that it can do for them, and they know what it's doing. Not always easy. So for me, the production practices thing is we're kind of sharing space where I'm trying to pull them along to what I know to be true, keep it interesting for them, but use what they want to use. We have some pocket cams now, I do believe. Their cell phones, which will shoot some version of 4K, but maximize the technology that they have the most access to so that when they come back with these images, because everybody's got a phone, as you know, they can grab stuff that we can't come back to the station, get a camera and go back out. Sometimes we don't have that kind of time, but you can do it in a way that the images are of quality and benefit everybody. That's what we're trying to do. So, I don't know if I've said everything I wanted to say, but I'm just trying to say that this responsibility that has been left for me to try to carry forward some exposure for these students to learn and grow. I take it pretty seriously, and I'm doing the best that I can with the team that I have, and I appreciate it. Do you have any questions? Yes, sir. I'll repeat it. Go ahead, because we were back there saying, I'll repeat your question. Go ahead.
First off, I want to say fantastic presentation and overview of technology.
Thank you, hilarious. Excuse my
So,
hat too, I'm freezing, by the way.
so I work with libraries and archives
Yes, sir.
that have audiovisual material. Because you're at the center point of how CSU is being documented, what within the collection have you been dealing at all with the preservation and access of the video material?
So that's an interesting question. I was at Clark Atlanta University from, came as a student in 85, started studying over here in 86, graduated in 89, walked in 90. Bruce retired from Clark and went to North Carolina A&T. They hired me at Clark College at the time until 2010 when I did the Olympics at Whistler up on the mountain. And I left for 7 years and came back. The amount of, the repertoire of information that we had is pretty amazing. Some of the stuff that I remember that was here before I left. And here's the trick. The format when I started was 3/4 inch. I don't think we had any 1 inch. Little bit of 3/4 SP. We started in some Super VHS. We had some Beta SP. Then we went to M2 with the Olympic thing that happened. Format became M2, D3, D5, and Sony something. I can't remember what that format was. And the challenge is now that we have all of this media on tape and nowhere to play. If the machines have gone by the wayside, bench rollers and capsule motors just cannot hold up for the duration that we have. And we're looking for some partners to help us take that media that we have that is boxed up and stored and try to convert it to something digital, some digital realm to make it available. So we constantly capture things, and the newer stuff is nonlinear, of course. We have a media storage tool, but the older stuff is just stacking boxes.
Has there been any type of assessment of the material?
Has not been an assessment beyond me knowing what it is, but seeing it, knowing that it's there. You need some help.
It's a good,
Yes.
great presentation. And I do understand your challenge there. I design a lot of edit suites, especially for Warner, with vector scope, but it's not all the time you find an editor using it. So if you're doing color correction, yes, you want to depend on your vector scope. But nowadays, because the way you ingest content, it's not ingesting it from a tape where you can, calibrate, everything to make sure the picture's coming in, with, the right, level for your video. Yeah. Today, you're getting content from either online or any other form. Most editors right now will not look at the vector scope. They'll edit and then they render their timeline and then they'll use a filter to legalize, the video level before they submit it. Right. If you're doing on-air content, yes, sometimes you want to do it. Sometimes it's post. You send it to a QC system that can analyze it, and then they can apply some filter there for you to make sure it's legalized again and your sound is up to the right level. But it's a challenge.
It's a challenge here because on this side of it, they need to know what it is, how to interpret it, how to pull it up, what button to push to make it pop out, or
Yes.
Zoom in on a vector or whatever. Maybe not so much in the waveform, but you're looking for different things there. Timing. In my other life,
It's important to, yes.
It's crucial. I work at WSB occasionally, do some work over there, and they have used Hitachi cameras. It's a broadcast operation. They have PTZ Panasonic cameras. Now, to sync the two styles of cameras together, we have to watch them do some frame syncs. But when we watch those Panasonics through frame syncs, it creates a huge delay issue with the Hitachis coming through the I forget which switcher they have. And so, I'm looking for timing now in the waveform monitor. You don't do that very often. I mean, engineering does, but I, as the video shader, am helping them know, oh no, there's an issue with timing, and I need to know how to go down and vector and find and make that happen. So for me with them, I need them to know.
Yes, it's important to understand, what you're looking at.
Just in case they're in a situation where they see something and they go, oh no, right here, and go right to it.
Yeah.
Because if we have the tool, it's available to them to learn, it's available for them to carry that skill forward.
Yeah.
Now, interesting, there was a conversation, yesterday when Christian was up here, and he was talking about lighting for set and lighting for scene and lighting for effects. So, in my life, I have multiple. I do a lot of award shows here in Atlanta. Most award shows that come to Atlanta under video engineers show for them shows on the truck. Usually 10 to 15, 17 cameras. But it's always interesting. In my shading, when I wear my shading hat, it's all about skin tone. It's all about skin tone. And I fight with lighting a little bit. More not lighting, more costume than lighting. That the combination of special effects in the room, usually smoke or moving lights, can create challenges in the camera. He talked about lens flare yesterday. Although I can't show you an example, many of us know what lens flare is. It's when it's an optical distortion that occurs when the light bounces inside the lens, and whatever the prevalent color that's in that glass will then radiate. Either it'll be picked up on the sensor and we'll see it on the scope, or we'll see it on the screen, and it'll have just a little, some blue or some color will appear that's not present. You know the color's not there, but you see it in the camera. That's right. But I have this challenge all the time with special effects with lighting, affecting video through the camera, and they think it's the camera. So me and the lighting person on my shows are like best friends, because I'm trying to give them what they want to see through the camera, and it's not always easy. But I also know that in the costume diaspora of television production, I don't know how it is in film, because I haven't worked in film forever. The newer cameras can tell the difference between synthetic fabrics and natural fabrics. And when you start getting the colors in the red hue or orange shade, in synthetic fabrics, the camera does not interpret those colors right all the time. And then it takes extra tricks that you have to do to pull the color back. Either you're going to shade for that face, or you might have a little shift for that fabric. And with some talent, they're real crucial and critical about, no, this has to be this. But I'm the one that's going to come in and say, okay, now I can make your face look like this, or I can make your skin face look like that. But the synthetic fabrics have been a challenge for me in this world as a shader versus natural fabrics. Have you found any challenges like that, Chris? Yeah, details better, yeah. I'm sorry, I put you on the spot for that.
That's no problem. Just that you can see more that the texture of the fabric, and I think the color rendition is sometimes so extreme.
Yep, that it makes it look almost too real or not real enough.
You know in your heart, that's not nature. Yeah.
So that's my challenge now in another world. I worked in the sports court for several years as a video shader, and I've had that challenge on set with those weird fabrics and synthetic fabrics. It's a struggle for me. On the award shows, they tend not to be synthetic. They tend to be more natural, but then I deal with some of the makeup things that we do. Those things will come. The cameras, like you said, cameras see very well. We know they see well, but they see very well. And I'm not trying to kill detail. I'm not trying to soften skin tone. I want you to look just like you look. If you came to the show looking like this, that's the way you want to look. I'm going to help you look like that naturally. Because I think that you said, older's not worse. It's not a bad thing. It's you still naturally have a grace about you and look natural and be older. Shit, I'm 57 now, I think. But we're going to carry it. I own it. I have to. I haven't had the challenge where people say make me look young. But I have had the challenge where the makeup that they wear is on camera is not appropriate. It just doesn't, we gotta change makeup. I've stopped shows for that too. So they just didn't know that that's what they were gonna look like on camera. In the film world, sometimes there's time to make those changes. On these award shows that I do, I got 2 days of rehearsal and then we're up 17 cameras live and stuff. So it just really helps when I have that relationship with lighting so that we can see things So that, do you see what I see? Am I crazy? You see that? Yeah, we see the car retro. Get makeup. Somebody, come on. You need to fix and check it. Do you have any questions? I know that was a ramble. I apologize. A lot of things going on in my head. Here we go. I appreciate you coming to Clark Atlanta University. Our students appreciate you coming to Clark Atlanta University. Thank you. Can I go back to work now?
Yes.
So, have you enjoyed yourselves? You know, this is so amazing, not only because it's at Clark Atlanta University, but because it's all about the students. Dr. Bentley, I want to say thank you again to you, to all the CAU constituents, and Mr. Jenkins, everybody. But for those of you all who have not heard, this is the first SIMPTY HBCU chapter.
So I know some of the students had to leave for various reasons, class, work, etc. By show of hands, how many students we have in here that are part of the CAU Student SIMPTY chapter? I see. Raise your hand high.
Can you all stand, the SIMPTY students?
Yeah, some of them are in the back also.
So we have one, and we're going to put you on the spot. We want to know, what did you learn during this time? And what was your greatest and most exciting moment?
Yes, and also too, what do you have as a student that's in the process of matriculating and graduating from Clark Atlanta University? What do you have to look forward to going into the future?
Well, I would like to say thank you for being here. Thank you for all those who presented today. This was very educational and inspiring. There was many panelists that came up that made me feel motivated to create even more. Very inspired to pass on knowledge. You know, my takeaway was I learned something, and to also pass on knowledge to my peers and those who's coming up behind me, because I feel like that's what you guys are doing here today, you know, for people that represent someone that looks like me and going into the industry. So that's my big thing, is to pass on and to be able to be in a space to create. Was there another question?
Or is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I think that's about it.
Okay. And can we swap so?
You're the first year student.
Like he said earlier, thank you for being here. You asked what I learned.
Yes, what did you, from these past 2 days, you know, what did you get, you know, from the presentations? I mean, the great presentations, just the knowledge, what did you learn? And what can you take, and how do you see the future as a college student, again, that's matriculating through your studies at Clark Atlanta? What do you have to look forward to going into what the future?
Out of all the presentations from today and yesterday, I really took a lot of information from Mr. Epps, his presentation about the lighting, because that's what I've been looking at lately, about lighting for photography and videography. And I will be looking forward to taking that back to the studio, whether it's working on the comedy sketch show, working with the news break, or with the talk shows that we have. And hopefully I can take that back. Once I graduate, I'll be taking the same information outside of college after I graduate and instilling it into my production company that I want to have when I get older.
Awesome. Let's see.
I know we have a student here. No? Okay.
Let's Jada. She's part of the student chapter.
Hey y'all. Jada Bogues. Sure. Yep. Hello. Okay. I'd like to say thank you all. Simpty, BJ, Bentley, everybody, for speaking. A very educational one. 2, inspiring, to continue to do what I need to do. I know where I want to be tomorrow. I know what my job is that I have. I have an idea of what I want to do. So I'm going to continue to do it, of course. Work like I'm doing, continue to do that. Nothing's going to, get in the way of that, of course. I just appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this chapter. And nothing but good things from here. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Let's see, Ms. Gaffney, Scholar Gaffney.
Oh, Mike.
Tell us how this whole experience has impacted you.
Oh, my bad. I'm not a mic person. I think this experience has impacted me in the sense of like learning all these new things, and also what we can continue to grow with being a part of this chapter. For the most part, I was operating the cameras or in the back, but this was really fun and I enjoyed all the presentations.
Yes, and I just want to say that this is an awesome and excellent opportunity, scholars, because again, this organization is a combination starting off with students from mass media arts, but also cyber-physical systems, the blend of arts and sciences, right? But also, too, another wonderful opportunity with the actual Atlanta Symphony chapter, right? It would be a ton of opportunities to network, to host meetings on campus, to go to meetings, potential, internship opportunities, potential job opportunities within Symphony, potential scholarship opportunities, and also, too, for our faculty, student, Symphony members, CAU TV, I see Mr. Clark, and we have several more, Dr. George. There are opportunities also for certifications, also taking some of the Symphony courses. And students, you will have that opportunity also. So again, the sky is the limit. And I will, use the words from Dr. Michelle Wright, the best is yet to come.
It sure is. And I think he's also trying to say, if you're not involved with Symphony, get involved.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Wright, Dr. Bentley. On behalf of Renard Jenkins, who had to leave us a little early for a flight, and everyone at Symphony, thank you. Power of Color was envisioned on the sidewalk after a meeting here a year ago. And we're here today trying something we've never done at Symphony. And it's really trying to embrace the intersection of art and science, which I think we've done quite well in the last 2 days. For those of you who came to Atlanta on behalf of attending this conference, thank you for the travel. For those of you who are viewing online, thank you for joining us. One of the important parts that Symphony asked me to embrace when I came on as executive director was to start growing our relationship with universities, because our industry has a serious pipeline issue. And what we do is so far behind the scenes, people don't often think about career paths in it. And so it's not just hosting symposia like this, but it's hosting symposia on university campuses. And if you've been working on cameras or back in the control room, could you join me on stage, please? Y'all in the back, come on down. Come on up, ladies. Please come up. Because, folks, part of what Symphony does is to create environments for people to learn new skills and get experience and make connections. And what you're seeing coming on stage right now is the future of our industry. And we need to be greatly appreciative of that here at Clark Atlanta, at any of our training programs around the world that are associated with Symphony. These folks have been taking everything we have thrown at them, and some of it has been fascinating, we'll use that word. Slide on in. They became models on stage when they didn't expect to be, and it has been a wonderful time. So please, a round of applause for our team here. So as we wrap things up, there's no better time to end something in Atlanta than at 5 o'clock because the traffic is oh so pleasant. But I truly do want to express my thanks again on behalf of our president, Renard Jenkins, and our entire board of governors, many of whom have been here or online, and to say thank you to the staff and team of volunteers who put this together. We greatly appreciate your work, and we appreciate all of you. I hope you have a lovely, lovely rest of your time, and thank you for joining us. You can check out other SMPTE activities at SMPTE.org. Thank you. Have a good day.